Hello and welcome back to the I Come First podcast. I'm your host, Amie Barsky, and if you've ever been curious about how to combine ancient teachings with modern day practices to support your mental and emotional health, then guess what? You're in the right spot. Get ready to unlock the secrets of self-love with today's guest, Sherris Runcie. Sherris is a self-love coach with a twist. This intuitive powerhouse blends ancestral wisdom with modern mojo to help women just like you thrive in today's hectic world. Today, we're unveiling some of the hidden aspects of self-love you never knew were missing. So whether you are a self-love junkie or maybe you're just jumping in for the first time today, this episode is packed with practical insights that you can start applying today. So let's welcome Sherris into the room. Hello, Sherris, and welcome to the I Come First podcast. I am very excited to have you on. I've heard wonderful things in how you serve communities and women around the world, and it just excites me that you're here to share some of that with us today. So, if you're open to it, just start with a brief introduction of who you are and how you support women around the world.
Wow. Thank you for this opportunity. I am an intuitive consultant that reminds people of their power and tap into the vibration of joy and alignment and connecting to their inner guidance.
Ooh, yes. I say yes to all of that. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. So, I met you most recently at an event together, and I just felt your leadership so powerful in the way you held yourself in this personal development workshop and your infectious way of being. And that's why one of the reasons why I asked you to join us here on the I Come First podcast. And so I really want to tap into navigations around how you support people with specific questions. And let's just have fun with this conversation. So the first one is, in a society that often emphasizes the external validation, which I think you're familiar with from my experience of you so far, how can women reconnect to their inner wisdom and their authentic self to create their own definitions of success or fulfillment?
So I believe that our greatest superpower is knowing who we are, remembering who we came here to be, and to not be defined or labeled by anything else other than our personal connection to spirit. So
Mm,
for me, it was a practice of building a relationship with my inner guidance
mm,
and feeling the love, the acceptance, the power, all of those desires and traits that I want to express to the world, feeling that
okay.
within me. And so I would say connect to your inner guidance.
And what does that mean for someone who might be new to personal development or unfamiliar with that kind of language? How would you explain that to them?
It's about alignment. So, alignment is being able to have an emotional frequency or an emotional state that's high vibrational. So, joy, peace, groundedness, confidence, feeling safe and beautiful and powerful in your body. And it starts with training your mind. So, you set the intention with whatever higher power you resonate with. I really want to get to know my inner guidance, or I really want to get to know my inner confidence. And then you start training your vibration. For someone that doesn't know this world or understand it, I would say self care. Start
Okay.
with acts of self care. Pamper yourself, rest, time out for yourself, connect to
Mm,
nature, feel good in
mm,
your body. And
mm,
as you do that, the information will come.
I love this. And so what I'm hearing is this concept of self-care. In my experience, it felt very selfish. It felt like a luxury for me. it didn't feel like a necessity as it does now in my life. And this is something I support
Mhm.
my clients in as well. So I feel like, we're walking down similar paths in this way. And so, in this concept of self care isn't selfish, it's nurturing, you're nourishing yourself from the inside out. And yes, to pampering yourself. I'm a fan of that. Yes, to rest. And I feel that there's a level of ownership, of responsibility for the internal self care that gets to happen around emotions, around states of being, around how am I being in my relationship with myself? How am I being in my relationship with my partner, my family, my siblings, my parents, things like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And that is a clear mirror when it's reflected back and something feels uneasy. I'll use the word trigger because that's it's a common word in self-development. And trigger is simply a sensation inside the body, right? A sensation inside the body
Mhm.
that's communicating because our body's always communicating with us. So maybe that trigger or that sensation, that felt sense is a tightness in the chest or a heaviness in the gut, like that kind of feeling. When you're in relationship with somebody or even with yourself and you're working on your own evolution, if you will, your own growth, and something like that comes in, the body's communicating. And it's just so fascinating that yes to the pampering and to the internal world. So internal and external get to play together.
Agreed. That's so beautifully encapsulated.
Thank you. Yeah. And I know you talk about you're sharing your knowledge around ancestral teachings, ancestral healing. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, I am of Jamaican origin, and as I've been in my meditation practice and mindfulness, I've really tapped into the wisdom of my bloodline and my lineage. And what I have found is that my ancestors were very connected to the earth. They were
Ooh.
very connected to energy, being one with all that is. And
Mm,
as I've navigated being in this sometimes very chaotic world, I've always gone back to how can I be present? What is spirit telling me? And really feeling the presence of my ancestors, my spirit
mm.
guides, and non physical that I feel is supporting and guiding me along the way.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm really curious, Sherris. Is this something that you always were present with, or did something in your life kind of catapult you into this? I'll say the word spiritual awakening. Was there an incident or an experience, or I'll say the word trauma? Was there something that happened that opened up this portal for you to navigate down? Because that's what happened for me, and I'd love to hear if that was a similar
Yes.
experience for you.
So I've always been intuitive, meaning that I could read people and
Mm,
I had a beautiful relationship with my imagination and knowing.
mm,
But I was raised very conservative and Christian, and I was told that being able to have psychic ability and doing certain things was wrong. So I shut that part of me off.
mm,
I've always felt like I've had words of affirmation for people and being able to get messages to support and encourage people.
mm.
But what has really catapulted me to this next level of knowing was just a lot of trauma. A lot of chaos, girl. I have dealt with severe depression my whole life, ADHD. There were some very traumatic family dynamics. I have seen things, experienced things that I would never wish on anybody. And so
Yeah.
I've always had this desire to find peace, to be loved, to
Mm,
feel like I was good enough. And
mm,
in my
yeah.
surrender to the universe, in my surrender to that which is all and within us, I was given the inspired action to become more and more intuitive
Mm,
and
mm.
aligned.
Was there, and I don't know, I'll ask the question, and this is what's just coming through for me right now. Was there a particular moment in time that you said, "I am done," I'm gonna say the words, "living a lie. I'm done pretending to be somebody I'm not. And I am ready to show up as my true, intuitive, connected channel that you are, because that is a gift and not everyone understands it. I come from a similar background, 12 years of Catholic school, very conservative, very rigid, all the things. So I get it. So was there a moment where you're like, cut the cord, that's it, door closed, not going back, walking on this path now?
Yeah, I would say about 2 years ago, I had an incredible medical dilemma that happened to me. I collapsed in my apartment. I ended up in emergency surgery. I had a huge wound that was weeks and weeks of rehabilitation. Long story short, I found out that I had stage 4 cancer.
Mm,
And this is what I was being told by the number one oncologist in the world for my type of cancer at MD Anderson.
mm,
And in that moment, I had to decide, does Sherris want to live
mm,
or does Sherris want to give up?
mm.
And I said, I want to live.
Yeah.
And what that meant was getting rid of all the programming, all of the caring about what other people think, the people pleasing, and doing my best with whatever awareness and insight I had
Mm,
to make alignment a priority for me.
mm,
And as I surrendered day by day, Spirit held my hand and guided me. And I was given the tools, the connections, the friendships, the trainings that I need to be where I am today.
mm. So are you cancer free now?
So I actually have had an incredible response to my cancer diagnosis. At this point, they're like, "Oh no, girl, I guess you're doing well." I'm still in treatment, but my lab results are amazing. I have had the best levels of energy I've ever had in my life. I'm the strongest I've ever been in my life. And I really see this as not as a diagnosis or a label, but as a beautiful gift to redirect me in all areas of my life. So I guess my
Wow.
answer to you is we'll see what happens. I believe that I can be fully healed.
Would you be open to share what type of cancer you were diagnosed with?
It is endocrine cancer. So it's a hormonal type of cancer
Okay.
that affected my pancreas. And I come from a family of diabetes. And
Wow.
ultimately, this is an issue of dis-ease. I had
Mm,
stored so much trauma,
yeah.
so much pain in my body. And I wasn't acknowledging those deep, dark places that needed to come to the surface and be released. And so the cancer, I believe, was a tipping point. It was my body
Mm,
saying, hey,
yeah.
it's time to like really do the work. You got stuff to
Yeah.
get done.
Mm. There have been a lot of studies now around MS or autoimmune disease in general related to trauma more so than anything else. And so it does not surprise me with what you're saying right now. It doesn't surprise me at all. And I'm so celebrating you in doing the work for yourself to heal
Thank
so
you.
that you can have this beautiful life that you deserve to live in a healthy, energized, and vibrant way. It's very exciting. I'm curious around when we talk about the ancestral teachings and the combination of that and modern neuroscience that intersect, right? It's almost, you're bridging the gap, it sounds like, between the spirituality and the science type thing. In your approach to self-love, when you're helping your clients out, what surprises or insights have you gained from this combination of these two elements coming together to support someone in their journey?
Are you saying how science and this ancestral teaching come together? How they work together?
Yes, when you use this approach for your to support women, correct?
Yes, yes, I do. I believe that we teach ourselves how to thrive and operate. And our entire body, our entire organism is a conduit of frequency.
Mm,
And so a lot of times science says you are the product of your genes.
Mhm.
But if you look at science, science shows us that people can have the same genetic background, yet one person expresses it and the other sibling or family member doesn't express it.
Mhm.
Ultimately, it is what your cells are growing in, what they are surrounding themselves in, how they are being supported that dictates what resonance you're going to be at,
Mhm.
what type of health condition you are going to express. So for me, I talk to my body and I nurture it and I love it. And I make sure that the condition in which it operates is the best possible condition that it can be.
Mhm.
So, what are the conditions? The conditions are nutrition,
Yeah.
movement, lower cortisol levels by operating through mindfulness, grounding, training your mindset to focus on what you want more of
Mhm.
rather than the chaos that you keep seeing.
Mhm.
And as you
Yeah.
love your body in this way, as you nurture it, it heals. It heals itself.
I love that. Yes, it's an inside out job. It definitely is. And I feel like there's so much valid information in the world right now when it comes to neuroscience and our bodies and how we are energetic beings and how our thoughts affect and how our upbringing and our environment and our culture and our food and our way of living, everything touches everything energetically. And so all of this is poured into, let's say, a child, who's now in this environment, in this upbringing, and they are definitely influenced in different ways. And yes, siblings definitely absorb it in different ways. If I look at my sister, there's so many things that she is completely opposite of me. And yet, we have the same parents. And so it's very interesting to really ask ourselves, how am I treating myself? How am I approaching the world? Am I approaching the world in a victim consciousness of like, oh my gosh, everything's happening to me and it's so hard? Or am I coming into this world asking myself, how do I want to be of service today? How can I show up today for myself and bring value to myself and my loved ones? And then let that ripple out into the rest of the world.
Oh man, that's so beautiful. I just love hearing you speak.
Thank you. Thank you. I would love to ask you, so ancestral teachings and healings, this is still fairly new for me. I'm not going to lie, I'm be fully transparent here. However, I am familiar with generational trauma. Like when we're talking about generational, is that similar to ancestral teachings? Is that kind of on the same
Right.
wavelength?
Yeah. So it's just kind of the way that I describe how I'm showing up in the world, and how I process family trauma,
Mhm.
just a pattern of generations dealing with the same kind of issues or battles or challenges in certain areas of their life that I have seen within my own personal family and bloodline.
Mm,
And also tapping in to non-physical and feeling really supported by my ancestors
mm,
and my spirit guides and non-physical and my higher self.
mm,
And it's ancestral. It's
mm.
very familiar. It's family. I am not alone in this lifetime, in this life path. And I feel that a lot of my guidance, yes, it does come from within my higher self, but I am also open to support from my angels and
Mhm.
my family members and spirit guides. Girl, I'm gonna take all the help that I can get. And
Exactly.
so,
Good for you, because
and so
most
what?
women are convinced they have to do it alone, right? We are taught in a society right now, and I feel like it's shifting massively, which I'm so excited about. But the society that we have over the past, let's say, I don't know, 75 years, women have fought for their rights. We have fought to get equal rights, to vote, to pay scales, like everything. We've fought for that. So we've swung the pendulum in this direction of, we want to be like the men. We deserve all of that. Yes. And we don't operate in that way. We don't operate, our bodies physically cannot operate in that way. So it's so beautiful for you to say the word, I want all the help I can get, because a lot of us, self included, and a lot of my clients that I work with, they have been convinced that they have to do it on their own. They have to prove their worth in the world by themselves. And so that beautiful shift that's happening just in your language of like, yes, I'm going to ask for all the help. Bring it on, bring it on, bring it everywhere, every day, right? I love that. When you're in that tapped in connection to your spirit guides and your higher self. And I know for some of my listeners, this might be a little woo. And again, this is a learning curve for me too, but I love it. And I'm willing and I'm wanting to learn more. Right. So when we are women who are reconciling ancient wisdom, this knowledge of the past and generations and things that are lineage, and connecting that to the modern societal pressures in their journey towards self-love and self-empowerment, how can we start to reconcile all of this to say, wow, like you said, I'm going to ask for help. What do you feel is some of the actions you take to say, I'm open to receive? And let's, if you're open to it, can we bring it to a tangible people that walk on the earth? Because we've kind of heard about the spiritual side. So how does that translate into I'm a human being walking on the earth?
You have to get rid of the programming. And so the programming tells you that I have to do everything by myself. I have to work really hard. I have to prove myself. I have to force my way into what I want. And the truth is, we were meant to work in community. We
Yeah.
were meant to be supported in tribes of love, in tribes of service, and feeling like we have partnership and collaboration and reciprocity.
Mm,
And there are all of these false paradigms of how we have to be to succeed.
mhm.
And I'm learning that true success comes from alignment within. And so you have to remember, I am worthy of asking for help, of receiving, of being in flow,
Mhm.
and that I can have success through flow and ease,
Mm,
because
mm.
we were meant to not be in a state of fight or flight or constant cortisol, high
Yeah.
cortisol levels. And that's where addiction comes in. That's where
Mhm.
burnout comes in. That's where you're not able to show up for the people you love because you're giving your all and not being rejuvenated.
Yeah.
The lesson here is that you are worth it. You
Yeah.
are worth being supported and having
Mhm.
rest and filling up
Mhm.
your cup so that when
Mhm.
you give, it's from overflow.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Oh, you are preaching to the choir. This is what I support so many of my clients with, that pushing and proving that I've got to produce more to show how valuable I am in order to get love, attention, affection, validation, all the things that we as humans desire. And it's not to say that we don't deserve them. It's, in my opinion, it gets to shift to be an inside out job, not an outside in job. My world doesn't get crushed anymore when someone doesn't validate. And so I have such a solid relationship with myself now. When I did not used to, I would crumble. I would be so crushed if I didn't get invited to that gathering, or so and so didn't send me a birthday message, or whatever the thing was that I was so like crumbled by, because I was looking for the approval outside myself. And right now in my life, as a woman in this world for 50 freaking years, I give zero fucks now. Now I give
Yes.
all of my fucks back. I
You're
give them all back.
speaking my language.
Yeah. Yeah. And it took a while to get there. I'm not going to lie. It definitely was a journey, and that's okay, because this is how we learn and grow. And that's the exciting part. So I'm curious, in your experience, Sherris, what is the most overlooked aspect of self love that a woman tends to neglect? And how does that tie into the ancestral teachings? Let's come back into that.
All that's coming to me right now is the power of our central nervous system. It's so important that we nurture that, that we stay in a place of groundedness and flow and being able to meet stressors and challenge with an action plan.
Mm,
So I don't let life happen to me anymore. I let life happen for me and with me. And so when challenges come up, chaos comes up, I reframe it as, okay, what's the lesson here? What do I need right now to shift? How is this going to get me to the next level? And so for me, it's all about calming your nervous system so that you can be in a place of groundedness and
Mm-hmm.
make aligned decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And also recognizing that your inner guidance is powerful and it will shift the trajectory of your life.
So, in a nutshell, what I'm hearing is listen to your body. Your body's speaking a
Yes.
language to you. And in that conversation that you're having with we call it the nervous system, the body speaking, right? In that conversation, what is here for me? What am I choosing? Remember, we have power of choice. And I know that's for me. I forgot that for most. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know I had a choice for most of my life. I was like, oh, I have choice. That's a whole nother conversation we can have. However, what I really want to emphasize here is this internal dialogue that's happening is going to dictate our choices. So you mentioned fight or flight, and those are survival mechanisms that we are inherently, it's happening and it's recognizing it. So it's having the tools, having the techniques in your back pocket by working with someone like myself or someone like yourself who knows and understands it and can then teach it and share it to our clients, and using those tools to go, oh, I noticed this. What do I need? How can I start to understand myself deeply, fill those needs, fill up my cup, and then make decisions from that inner guidance you were talking about?
So our emotions are indicators of how aligned we are to our spirit. And so it's really important to get connected to your body, to your
Mm-hmm.
physiology, because our body is trying to communicate to us. This is where you need to shift or change. This is a warning that there needs to be some kind of shift or change so that you can get back into alignment. And I am so connected to my body. I am so present in a way that I've never been before. I am the most mindful now than I've ever been in my entire life. And it's a game changer.
It's so a game changer. I can relate to everything you're sharing. It is very much a game changer. When you build that self trust, which is listening to the messages that the body is communicating, that builds the confidence to say, oh, I got me. I got me. I don't have to worry about if someone else doesn't get me. I got me. And so I love it all. I have one more question around the central nervous system because we're talking about this yumminess of I can geek out on the science all day long. It's so my jam. So before we close up this beautiful conversation, what does the central nervous system play? What part does it play in our ability to connect with our intuition? Because we're talking about that other spiritual realm, right? Our spirit guides, our intuition, our team of light, whatever you want to call it. And how can women practically apply this in their daily lives if there's something you can share with them? So, one, how is it connected? And then two, was there something practical that they can take away with today?
So it's hard to hear your inner voice or inner guidance when you're in a state of high stress levels and fight or flight. So high adrenaline, high cortisol, just depression. It's hard to really connect to what is happening right now. What do I want? What shift needs to happen? Where am I going? And
Mm,
your central nervous system is in charge of that part of your body that gives you those warning signals. So
yeah.
when you're at a place of calm and when you're supporting your central nervous system, you are able to be a better receiver of
Mm,
wisdom, of
mm,
inspired action, feeling safe in your body and
mhm.
having aligned action.
So it sounds like if our nervous system is in a space of chaos and overworked, overthinking, overwhelmed, then there's a disconnect. There's a gap between that and our intuition. It's harder to hear. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, because presence means that you are in control.
Mm,
Really being present and in a state of empowerment.
mm,
You are the captain of your ship. You are the one making choices in your life.
mhm,
Whereas when you are in a state of high stress, life is happening to you, things are coming left and right, and you don't know which way to turn, and you're
Yeah.
exhausted. It's all about energy. You want to conserve your energy. You want to have the best energy levels of positivity that's going to help you know where to go and how to live life vibrantly.
I love it. Yes, yes, yes to all of that. And I want to really highlight this right now because this is coming in so clear for me. A listener, if you're hearing this and you're like, well, what do you mean conserve my energy? This is what I would encourage you to do. Look at your standards and values in life. What do you value? What are your standards? And if you're not living according to those, that means you're probably leaking energy out that could be conserved for other things that are more important to you. And that's where I would start personally. That's something I got to start with in the beginning of my journey of like, what do I actually value? Because my cortisol levels were shooting through the roof and I didn't understand any of this inner work. And when I got in relationship with my values and my standards and what I required, it was a game changer in regards to delegating my time to things that made the most sense because those were the most valuable. Those were the priorities in my life.
You hit it perfectly. And when you are well hydrated, well rested,
Mhm.
when your mind is right, when you feel so at
Yeah.
peace, your energy connects with a state of flow and abundance, and supernatural things happen. And
Mm,
it's kind of something that you just have to experience for yourself.
yes.
And if you're saying right now, I don't really understand all of this, my life is a hot mess and I don't even know where to start, start with self care. What that
Mm,
can mean is getting a babysitter, taking time out for yourself to do something that makes you truly happy,
mhm.
remembering what it is that you used to love, what your passion was, whether it was dancing or creating art or
Mm,
skipping around in the park. And as you do that, the next step will come. The wisdom will
mm.
come because you're telling the universe, I love myself. I want more
I
of
love
that.
that. So for someone who might be listening going, "Well, I don't have time for that," right? To sit and all the things. Could you give them like a bite size? This is the beginning of their journey. They just want to start. Where do you recommend they start?
I would just say movement. For me, movement really
Mm,
catapulted my shift. So getting out in nature, like maybe, just like whether it's just going outside, being under a tree, or just like walking down the sidewalk in a beautiful garden or area, at least 5 minutes a day, because it's
mm,
just going to start opening up your mind to possibilities.
yeah.
When we are in nature, we connect
Mm,
at a subconscious level to the frequency of perfection, which is an expression of creator, and it nurtures us. So I'm all about like getting out into nature and being under the trees and get some tree therapy.
mm. Yes, talk about grounding yourself in, hugging that damn tree and just putting your feet in the
I
grass. I love it. I love it. And
love trees so much.
and for those who might be like, "But I live in a city and there aren't," like we love to make up excuses. We love to fight for
Yeah.
our limiting beliefs, right? So, if you're that person that's like, "I live in a city," whatever the excuse is coming in. I don't live in a city, and sometimes I can't get out right away in the morning, which is my full desire, and sometimes that doesn't happen. So, I have plants in my house and so I talk to my plants. I touch them in the morning. I feel them. I breathe them in. I have these conversations. So at least I'm still connected with that nature aspect of like green, oxygen, dirt, like that kind of thing. So I just wanted to put that in the space because, I'm one to also make up excuses of why I can't do something. So I'm going to put that out there. Go ahead, Sherris. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was saying, if you're in a city and you can't really get out to nature, then what can you do inside? And so you said, connecting to your plants as well, or just having a nice cup of tea and
Mm,
being still with that tea and just having appreciation for it. Taking a bubble bath,
mm,
lighting a candle and smelling the beautiful fragrance of it. Thinking about anything in your life that you're appreciative of. I woke up this morning
mm,
and I was able to take a breath. I
mhm,
could walk on my feet. I could
mhm.
use my hand to pick this cup up and drink it.
Yeah. I love yes, yes, yes. Okay, so as we wrap up this conversation, where is the best way for people to find you who are listening to this episode?
I would say on Instagram, I am Joyful Poet, just Joyful Poet, and my link tree is in my bio.
Perfect. And all of that will be in the show notes. So they'll all have all those links. That's amazing.
Can I share a little bit
Is it,
of the services that I provide?
sure, go ahead.
So I do tarot card readings, I do one-on-one
Ooh.
coaching, as well as channeled messages.
I love it. Yes. Yes to the tarot cards. I'm getting into that more recently, so I'm going to have to hit you up on that. So thank you so much for this conversation. I am so more educated on ancestral teachings, and I'm going to continue to dive into that journey of learning more because you've inspired me. So thank you for all of your wisdom here today, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thanks for coming on.
Bye. Thank you.